What is up, everybody? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Good morning. Here we go. We're going to start right here. Sanctions.
So before we learn more about what else was discussed in that meeting between the two leaders, we're going to hear from our Rich Donnelly with more on the Bridegan case.
So new filings from a defendant in the death penalty trial of the people accused of killing a St. Johns County father of four, Jared Bridegan, call for sanctions against the state attorney's office. Multiple documents from Shanna Gardner's attorneys claim that prosecutors continue to have discovery violations and bury evidence.
Rich Donnelly once again joining us right now. So Rich, after poring over these documents, what stands out to you?
Well, Anthony and Heather, because of claims of discovery violations, among a litany of requests, Shanna Gardner's attorneys want the court to prohibit the state from obtaining search warrants without notifying Gardner first. And they also want the court to force the state to pay Gardner's attorney's fees regarding the litigation of these claims at $500 an hour. The last time Shanna Gardner was in a courtroom, her defense attorneys came to an agreement with the state about the transfer of evidence in the case. But motions filed late Thursday night detail a drastically different view of interactions with the state. The defense team for Gardner lists 11 occasions where they feel the state did not act in good faith with sharing of evidence. They claim that there was no documentation of a subpoena of an unindicted co-conspirator and that the subpoena was buried in unrelated toll records. Another claim by Gardner's defense team states that after admitted triggerman Henry Tenon blurted in open court that he wanted to talk about, quote, false testimony, that Tenon was taken to the state attorney's office for 106 minutes. Gardner's defense team says the state never disclosed reports of documents related to that meeting, but whether he maintained his claim of false testimony or reversed himself, such statements constitute material evidence. Gardner's defense team has had issue with the state's handling of evidence in this case for more than a year. On the first day that Gardner appeared inside a Duval County courtroom, her attorney, Jose Baez, commented on the list of 100 possible witnesses and 7 terabytes of evidence that his team would have to comb through.
I'm absolutely certain, without an inkling of a doubt, that there's not going to be 100 witnesses in this case. Our government can burn a lot of paper, so that's where the 7 terabytes probably comes from.
Gardner's defense team also filed a motion to be given the police-sworn body camera footage from when Tenon was arrested, citing the same video made available to First Coast News and writing the defense team has reviewed the available media reports, but only redacted portions are available. Shanna Gardner's attorneys also claim that the state has used, quote, heavy-handed tactics with defense witnesses and want the court to authorize Gardner to depose Henry Tenon's attorney. Henry Tenon's attorney said that he will not have a comment about the motions until he's been able to read over them more thoroughly. We also reached out to the state attorney's office and are waiting for comments on the motion.
All right, guys. Last time we did this, the prosecutor said Maserati, I call him Maserati, he said there is nothing to report on Henry Tenon during this meeting. He said, we have nothing to say. I have nothing to report on it. I mean, he repeatedly said that, acted out of pocket over and over and over in the courtroom. Now, we've obtained, check this out. This is such bullshit. First of all, none of that's true. None of that is true. But more importantly, here you go. Check it out. We're going to share this screen. We're going to take a look at what Hector has uncovered. So, as we know, where we left off was to see what was going to happen with the state announcing and having Judge Kite was like, hey, you're going to respond to this email. You're going to respond to this motion. So here they went ahead and made the state of Florida here in Duval County. They made Alan Chipperfield, that is Henry Tenon's lawyer. He's now a Category A witness. Casey Bennett and Robin Waters, they are now Category A witnesses. And Alan Chipperfield's notes on the meeting are as follows. This is what they said. Well, first of all, this is what Maserati said, that nothing transpired to warrant. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to divulge any information. And then Gardner's and Fernandez's attorneys were like, I highly doubt that Henry Tenon just sat there and didn't say anything. Okay. I highly doubt that. for 106 minutes. So Alan Chipperfield, the attorney, he kept these notes written. Let's go like this. And I find this crazy to believe. But this dude, when he had this meeting, so here are his notes, and I actually read through them all. I can read them all out. Here are his notes from this meeting, okay? And good old Maserati over here, he files his papers. Let's put those papers there. From somebody saying that there wasn't anything to, report on. He had a whole different tone when he actually wrote up his paperwork. Where's this crap? We'll just start with the notes. Okay. So remember how we had Henry Tenon in the building? He was there. He's like, oh, I want to talk about my false testimony. Then Judge Kite removed everybody and said, okay, we're going to have you back. You need to go talk to your lawyer. And then never brought Henry Tenon back out. And it was like, wait a second, what's going on here? So these are the notes. And this is what happened in that meeting. This is the notes that Henry Tenon's lawyer was writing. And so what he advised Henry Tenon is right here. This was a meeting from 3 to 4 p.m. And it was between, this was Alan, Christina's the girl, Stifler, the defendant. So the defendant is always like a triangle. After the defendant said in court earlier yesterday, he lied. Warned defendant. So this is Alan Chipperfield and Henry Tenon are by themselves in a meeting, like in a room after he gets transported to the district attorney's office. And so it's just Alan Chipperfield and Henry Tenon. He says, I warned the defendant of talking to ASA. I told him to listen to them is one thing, but telling them I think that says new defense gives them an advantage. Okay. So Alan Chipperfield says, you're just going to listen to what they have to say. Don't talk. Don't speak. We're going to go and meet with them. Okay. So here, then they go into the room with then Maserati and Stifler. And Alan Maserati says, we ID'd your truck. Your DNA is on the tire. We have a video of you. No, they don't. So we have your cell phone at the scene. We have your cell phone in St. Johns County on when one of Jared's kids was at gymnastics. When his daughter had gymnastics at No Canty or whatever the hell this is called, and then it's an overwhelming case against you, Henry. Mario would have had to steal your phone and go there. Defendant says, I've never been to No Canty. And then Alan says, his lawyer, Chipperfield, where he doesn't even know that word. He doesn't even know that word. He notes it, that he doesn't even know how to say the word. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. Defendant, I told you that to get to Mario, I'd have, by me saying what I said, in order for you to get to Mario, I had to tell you that, I did it or I didn't do it. I was hoping that you would go after Mario to prove that I didn't do it. That's what he more or less says. It doesn't really make sense, but then Maserati says, so you confessed to a crime so that you laid out that you didn't do it. Like, so you confessed to something that you didn't do only for us to go and prove that you didn't do it. Henry says, I'm turning 64 next month. This is a really interesting, it seems like it's redacted because it's like right here and here. I find that hard to believe that you would just stop writing. So confess to guilty, being the gunman to prove you had an opportunity, your innocence. You cried in front of me, the district attorney says. You cried in front of me. You had signs of remorse. Someone has talked to you, paid you, threatened you. And then Henry Tenon says, no. I only talk to inmates when I'm playing chess, and I never talk about my case. And I only learned how to play chess once I came to jail. Right here, you're not this dumb. You're not this dumb is what they say to Henry Tenon. Okay? You showed genuine remorse. I'm not lying to you. I don't know why he says Alan says, I'm not lying to you. I don't know if that's Alan says, if he means if that's what Alan says, or does he say this? Do you trust him? He's talking about Mario. Do you trust him? And then Henry Tenon says, I paid tickets long ago, and somebody couldn't tell me why I am charged with driving without a license suspended, driving with a license suspended. Maserati says, government is sometimes incompetent. I don't know if that's what that means, if that's what it says. Life without the possibility of parole and death is what you would be facing if you go down this road. I have a case against Mario without you, but you make the case more difficult. You'll face perjury charges too. Mario thought so little of you. He thought he could manipulate you with money. Don't try to defend him. Help him. I worry about you. You tried to do the right thing, and now you want to reverse it. Everything was pointing at me. I had to get someone else involved. Is it because you don't want to be labeled a snitch? That's what Alan Maserati says. Michael Dunn is serving his sentence out west. No one knows. And now Michael Dunn, he's like telling him that, I think in a way like, hey, we can move you and nobody will know like what happened, what you did, and that you were a snitch. This is crazy. Okay, this is what Maserati says, that nothing happened though in this meeting, you guys. I was blown away. He says, no one is harassing me, Henry Tenon says. Something about your daughter. Oh, like, what about your daughter? He says, I can't reach one of them for 3 weeks. She's in Kentucky. Won't answer phone. Her voicemail is full. That's unusual. We will put you on the stand regardless of what you say. The train has left the station. Something lie or tell truth. Christine, now Stifler comes in. Now Stiffy Poo, the girl, Stifler. I can't read what that says, but I'm angry the white rich people, picked you as a fall guy. That's what Stifler comes in. He's like, I'm so angry that those white people, those rich white people, picked you as a fall guy. something here, but Jamie Deal was his, like that older white lady. Something, I don't know what that said. Tina, Jamie Deal. Mario came in and out of your place at will. He thought he owned the place. She saw a change in you to the, like, before the murder, after the murder. That's what M means. Said you were a good person, but you felt the weight of the world on you. Without them, this wouldn't have happened. This is like, they're trying to like guilt him into this. It's like all them, it's all them. This is about Jared's family. Jared's family knows it is the truth. Without them, you wouldn't have ever done this. You wouldn't be involved. Jared's family knows the truth. They believe in you. They love and respect you for what you did when you owned up to it. That will something your sentence, mitigate, I don't know, impact. That will impact your sentence. The defendant says, there are things I can't explain. They go left and right. Alan says, please talk to Chipperfield. They leave after offer coffee, black. I talked something. He has been no future. He wants to stick to story. He something in sworn statement is the truth. They return. I can't believe this is not client attorney privilege. This is not client attorney privilege. They return. Thank you. At depot, tell the truth about this. Okay. This is just, yeah. Okay. So, this is, now, I'm going to tell you that this is what's crazy. Alan Chipperfield allegedly took these notes on this day. Like, the day of it. Okay? And I think that's edited at 3 to 4 p.m. like after the fact, because clearly he didn't write it in here. Like, he adds it in later at some point. But then this is what gets crazy, is that the DA says that there's nothing to see here, right? Until Alan Chipperfield said, I took notes. I took notes at this meeting. Well, then the district attorney's office, they start speaking a different language. And now all of a sudden, this is what was filed. And this is wild. So it was privileged, but not anymore. Right? That's crazy. Okay, so check this out. Maserati tells the world, we all watched him say, there is nothing to tell. Nothing happened. Okay? So here, this is where it picks up. So during the February 7th, this is Maserati, writing to the courts. This is a motion. During the February 7th, 2025 hearing, the court issued a cover form order granting the defendant's motion as paragraph 11C and 11D. So state's response is, the state rejects defendant's claim that Mr. Tenon has not testified truthfully, and the state is on notice of the same. 8. Actions undertaken by the state regarding Tenon's statements in his January 13th, 2025 court appearance. 1. The state ordered the transcript of the court appearance. We all know this. This is everything that they said. This is all the new stuff. The state met with Tenon and his attorney on January 14th at the state attorney's office. Present for the meeting, those are your people. Chipperfield opened the meeting and explained he had advised Tenon to say little and instead listen. This is like literally taking this man's notes. Just watch this. The state said it was concerned about whether Tenon had been contacted by anyone in the jail that would lead him to wanting to withdraw his plea. Tenon said that he was not satisfied with his negotiated plea deal. Where did you guys read that in any of the notes? Because it's not there. So I get super pissed and I'm like, wait a second. I make my first notes to say, never said this in the notes, that Tenon said that he was not satisfied with his plea deal. Okay? His negotiated plea deal. And that he pleaded guilty before discovery was completed. Where did you see those notes? Okay. None of this is in those notes. I went through them. None of this. That's why I was like, I'm putting this out here. Tenon questioned whether Chipperfield had done a good job as he was facing a life sentence. Tenon was second-guessing his decision to cooperate because he now believed his cooperation would not matter, and despite it, he would nonetheless be sentenced to life. Maserati told Tenon that Chipperfield was an exceptional and high-regarded attorney and outlined Tenon's plea negotiations. That Tenon was allowed to plead a second-degree murder with the understanding he would testify truthfully about his and Fernandez's involvement in the murder of Jared Bridegan. 3, the state waived both the statutory guidelines and the 25-year minimum mandatory. And 4, that he would ultimately be sentenced to a term of years no less than 15 years and up to life in prison. I said, where in the notes does it say this? This is where I believe the notes start. As far as like Chipperfield's notes. Maserati said that if Tenon had not pleaded guilty and if convicted, Tenon could ultimately be sentenced to no less than mandatory life in prison based on the strength of the state's. Look at how he words it. Like, I was just giving him the facts of life. So, this is Chipperfield's version of things. That he would face. Maserati reviewed the state's evidence of Tenon's guilt and said, number 1, Tenon's DNA was identified on the tire that blocked Bridegan's travel. 2, video surveillance captured Tenon at the scene of Bridegan's murder. I'm telling you, they don't have that. 3, cell site data placed Tenon at relevant locations, including the murder scene as well as the gym. I'm telling you, they do not have him at the scene with his cell phone. They have him at a bar. And 4, and this gym place. And 4, the shell casings collected from the murder scene match the caliber of a firearm owned by Fernandez's friend. Like what? Then why isn't he a co-defendant? Tenon appeared confused by the word Nocati and stated he had never been there. Maserati, I call him Maserati. Maserati clarified that Nocati was in St. Johns County and that both license plate reader and cell site data placed Tenon there. Tenon said he told the state about Fernandez so that the state would interview Fernandez and learn that Tenon was not guilty. Maserati told Tenon that it did not make sense for Tenon to confess to a crime he did not commit in order to prove he did not commit the crime. And that's where I'm just saying, like, dude, I can't believe you have the balls to say that, okay? Because people confess to crimes all the time once you say that you're going to be put to death. And that here, if you work with us, and you only do like 15 years, okay? Because we have all of this shit against you. Especially Maserati, you know that. You're going to say in the next sentence about rich white people doing this shit to what? Poor black people. Like, get the fuck out of here. And people make false confessions all the time. Like, that's just a bunch of shit. Tenon expressed hopelessness about his future, stating he was already 64 years old. Maserati reiterated that the terms of his negotiated plea would allow Tenon to request and potentially be granted mercy at a sentencing hearing. Maserati reminded Tenon of how he expressed remorse about killing Bridegan, how he, Tenon, cried when he spoke about the baby in Jared's car, and how he voiced his wishes to do the right thing. I don't see any of that about the baby in the car. Now, maybe Alan Chipperfield wasn't documenting everything this man said, but I would think that'd be kind of important. Maserati asked Tenon what gave rise to what he said in the courtroom the day before January 13th. And he didn't, clearly, did you let the guy answer? Because there's no answer for that in the notes. Maserati basically just ran right into, he asked whether someone had threatened Tenon or paid Tenon. Tenon denied he had been threatened or paid and said that he does not talk to other inmates except to play chess with them. Oh, Maserati asked about Tenon's trust of the state and of his counsel's representations about the evidence. In response, Tenon mentioned his experience with a charge related to a suspended driver's license. You hear this shit? Like, they were asking Tenon about when he was asking about the evidence about the DNA on the tire, and this. Tenon's response was to talk about a license plate. Like, what? Like, can this guy be psych evaled? Tenon said he could not understand why his driver's license had been suspended, even though he had paid for the tickets that caused the suspension. That's interesting to me. Chipperfield offered Tenon the opportunity to talk to another defense attorney to obtain a second opinion. That's what's taken out of there. If he lacked trust in either Chipperfield or the public defender's office. Tenon did not respond, but later in the conversation confirmed he was content with Chipperfield as his attorney. Maserati explained to Tenon that if he sought to withdraw his plea, Tenon could be tried for first-degree murder and, based on the strength of case against him, would likely be sentenced to either death or mandatory life in prison upon conviction. Maserati explained this was Tenon's choice. Maserati told Tenon that even if he did not cooperate, the state still had a great case against Fernandez. I find that hard to believe, but okay. Maserati told Tenon that depending on Tenon's basis for requesting his plea of guilty to be withdrawn, Tenon may also subject himself to perjury charges. Told you the only time that the state uses any threat of perjury is it has to do with them, like to help them. But now when someone lies on their behalf, it's fucking total sickening. It's just so sick. Maserati reiterated that Tenon had to decide for himself, but told Tenon that if he decided to no longer cooperate, it should not be for the benefit of Fernandez if someone was interceding on his behalf. Maserati asked Tenon about being in jail and whether this influenced Tenon. Tenon said that everything was pointing at him and repeated that he had to get Fernandez involved with the state for his innocence. Jesus, listen, it's like, oh my God. Maserati asked about whether Tenon was suffering pressure in the jail and whether Tenon was worried about being labeled a snitch. You guys, this is after the prosecutor says that there was nothing to report on. Nothing to report on. That's what I have problems with. He looked at the judge and said to her face that there's nothing. I guess I can write something that says that there's nothing to report on. Like, this is absurd. He fucking just flat out lied to the tribunal. He lied to Judge Kite. And if I was Judge Kite, I would tell him to go fly a kite and he's off the case. Like, who do these people think that they are? I don't get it. It would just be simple to say, yeah, we talked to the guy. Sure, we'll disclose what happened in there. You know? Maserati explained that if Tenon was concerned, Tenon could be moved for his safety. Tenon denied anyone has or was harassing him. He said, hey, you know Michael Dunn, right? Yeah, we moved him and nobody knows why he's anywhere. Like, look at how he words it compared to how Chipperfield's writing it. It's just crazy. Stifler asked Tenon about his family. Then she comes in. How's your family? Whether anyone had contacted them and whether he was worried about them. Tenon said one of his daughters was not answering her phone and he could not get in touch with her, which was unusual. I just feel like Maserati looked at Chipperfield's notes and just wrote straight from there. Maserati had Chipperfield's notes before he wrote this. There's no doubt about it. Or unless they really recorded the hearing, or not hearing, but the meet and greet. Maserati asked for her name and phone numbers and said that if Tenon was worried for her safety, he would ask investigators to go check on her. Investigator Bennett, that's why Bennett's name is now on here, took the information and said he would reach out to local law enforcement. Tenon expressed relief at this. Oh, did he? Oh, that's what the problem is, huh? Someone shaking down the kids? Is that what you think? Stifler said, "Whew." Christina Stifler said she was on scene the night of the murder and had worked on this investigation from the beginning. She reminded Tenon that what he told Stifler a year ago confirmed details she knew about the case that no one could know unless they were true. It was because of this, she said, that she and Chipperfield believed Tenon had been influenced by someone. Stifler reminded Tenon about his friend, Janie Deal, and how he showed true affection for her and how he regretted she'd become involved in the case. Tenon acknowledged that Janie hated how Fernandez would come in and out of Tenon's house without consideration for him or permission. Stifler told Tenon that Miss Deal said that Tenon seemed changed just before the murder, as if he was carrying the weight of the world. Stifler explained that Tenon's remorse could be a factor that the court could consider at his sentencing, and that Jared's family is grateful for the fact that Tenon has owned up to what he did. No, they said the words that they love you. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't think Alan Chipperfield will use the words love. That's insane. Stifler explained that Chipperfield would ask the court to consider the family's sentiment at his sentencing hearing. Tenon responded that there were things he could not explain in the context of the discussion about mitigation/sentencing. What? Yeah, innocent or guilty? Yep, agree. Totally. The lies. I can't handle it. Innocent or guilty? This is gross. It's absolutely gross. Tenon was offered time with Chipperfield privately and asked if he wanted coffee. Tenon said he would like black coffee and was given a cup. He spoke with his attorney privately. After Tenon and Chipperfield spoke privately, Tenon thanked the state for the coffee. Tenon said to Stifler, "How you feel about it, I feel." Tenon reiterated his hopelessness. Tenon said he was sticking with you for trial. Tenon advised he would apologize to the judge for his outbursts. Oh, shit, what'd you do, Alan? Maserati closed the meeting saying that all the state wanted from Tenon was the truth. Tenon agreed and said his sworn was the truth. Maserati told Tenon that his deposition would be scheduled in the next few months, and during it, he should tell the lawyers questioning him about this meeting. This is the title of the document for the record. State's response to defense motion requesting specific discovery filed by defendant Fernandez and adopted by defendant Gardner. Paragraphs 11C and D. Whoever wrote this is like a little kid. I'm just saying. All right. So, yeah. I think Jose Baez is going to have a heyday with that. That's all I have to say about that. And then I want to close with this. She's back on the courtroom, I believe, at the end of March. Murky, I think March 28th you were talking about. Again, I have no idea what's going on. And if Tenon truly did not shoot Jared Bridegan, that would be, and like the dude just used his, of course, if Mario Saldana used Henry Tenon's truck, of course, Henry Tenon's DNA would be on things. It's his truck. Okay. So, anyways, I think it's bullshit. Because if this man truly didn't have anything to do with it, except like he like literally loaned out his truck, but the state got him to say that he was the shooter so that he could then testify against these people. That's bullshit. Because it went from Henry Tenon loaned out his truck to then Henry Tenon became the shooter all of a sudden. And all of this just reeks of whack shit. And then the tire just randomly ends up on the lawn like that. That's crazy. That's absolute craziness that you would have that tire laying around on the lawn on the day that the police come there so many months later. They get out of here. But that's your update, guys. I appreciate you joining me, and I will see you back here throughout the day. Thank you guys so much. Peace.